It's time to tap into your big money energy. This is definitely an episode you want to lock in on.
Also, stay to the end because I want to give you a bonus on, I have seen so many people get to that point where they're doing enough revenue every month to be $1 million company and then crash because of one really critical mistake that's, if you think you can't afford it, you can't afford not to do it.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about secrets to landing your first $1 million in business. So whether you are a small business, maybe at the 6-figure mark, looking to hit your first 7 figures, or maybe you want to know how to generate your next $1 million in business, this is definitely an episode you want to lock in on because we believe everybody should want to be a millionaire. And I think the main reason boils down to one word, and that is access. Access to people, opportunities, places, things, access to reaching your potential. So we want to dissect some lessons that we've learned along the journey, and more specifically, 3 things that you need to have in your business in order to unlock your first $1 million. So Tim, do you remember when you made your first million in business?
Yeah, I remember there wasn't like a moment that I woke up and I'm like, wow, I made $1 million. But it was more so when I started making enough money every month that I realized I'm like, oh, I'm making $1 million a year now. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty cool. And I thought I was cooler than I actually was. And I did some stupid stuff with the money, and but that's another topic for another.
The lessons learned.
So we're going to talk to you about how to get there. Also, stay to the end because I want to give you a bonus on. I have seen so many people get to that point where they're doing enough revenue every month to be $1 million company and then crash because of one really critical mistake that's easy to avoid if you know about it before it's too late. So stay to the end because we're also going to go over a bonus on how to avoid crashing once you've made your million.
So the first key or secret to landing your first $1 million in business is go narrow to go wide.
Yeah, so when we're looking at going narrow to go wide, it's what'll happen a lot. And I've made this mistake. I've seen a lot of people make this mistake is they go, hey, we can help everybody do everything. And your message is watered down, your lead generation won't work because you do too many things. And when you say, well, we're a full service marketing agency, how big are you? Me. So you are a full service marketing agency that's created a million things. Number one, it's going to be hard to get leads. It's going to be hard to get meetings. And it's going to be hard to convince people to hire you if you say you can do everything. So figure out, number one, where's there a problem that businesses have, that people have, that you're capable and really good at solving. Double down on going and solving that problem. The bigger the problem, the more you can get paid for it.
Yes.
So, if you're going after to solve a problem with recent college grads, they don't have a lot of money. So you could go do that if you're really good at like helping people get a job after graduating from college, but there's not going to be a lot of money there. So find where a problem that you're really good at solving where there's money as well. So those same skills, for instance, if you're a career coach that helps college grads, you could easily transition to that into, hey, I help executives get their next role. I help executives, level up to their next company. Very, very similar skills, but it's the audience you're going to go after has a lot more money. So really narrowing down what's the problem I solve, who has the money to pay for it, and then I'm not going to do a million things. I'm not going to help them get the job and do their admin work and I'm going to focus on and be very, very narrow on the problem I solve. And I'm going to stay narrow on that because the moment you start going too wide, the moment you start saying, well, like I did an SEO company and then we were like, okay, and we do social media and we do LinkedIn and we do all these things. And we stopped doing the core thing that we were good at doing. We stopped innovating that. So we were good at it, but it stopped innovating because we started putting all of our attention on innovating other products when we could have just doubled down on getting better and better and better in dominating SEO, which is what people came and paid us for originally for that business.
So it's go narrow to go wide. And more specifically, we're talking about in your service offerings, as we see a lot of businesses will fall into this, where they have one thing that they do and then they add on and they add on, and they think the misconception is the more service offerings that I have, the faster it's going to get me to that $1 million business. But it's actually a very false misconception, because it's actually keeping you stuck. As Tim is mentioning, you're not able to go fully into one thing and become the expert such that you're innovating and you're becoming the best in the space for that one thing, where people know, hey, Tim does B2B lead generation and he does it really well. But now you are just like Joe Schmo that does 5 different marketing avenues, right? So you never really get good at that one thing. So going narrow to go wide is that once you've narrowed down, people know you for a certain thing, they come to you to solve a certain problem, and you can repeat that over and over and over again. That is how you scale. And then, of course, when you break past that $1 million and now you have more resources, you have consistency in leads and in new customers, you can then start to branch out. But people are doing that way too soon or too early in their business stage, that it's actually keeping them stuck and preventing them from breaking through to that $1 million business.
And it's a similar thing, and I'm going to throw in a bonus here, is a similar thing to people saying, I'm going to create multiple streams of income. Wealthy people, once they've gotten wealthy because they've laser focused on one thing that made them a ton of money, and now they're making money and they're doing wealth protection. They're trying to put their money somewhere where they can save it, like in real estate or different things. Now they're creating multiple streams of income because they have so much overflow of wealth coming from one channel of income that they go, oh, we need to diversify this a little bit. But if you're trying to I'm going to create multiple streams of income inside my business, and I'm going to do this thing on the side. And it's like, guess what? If you are competing against me, and I am obsessively laser focused on becoming the best at lead generation through outbound appointment setting, I will destroy you. I will take your clients and I will leave you with nothing. That's just the way the world works. There is going to be a competitor out there that's as obsessed and wants to win and dominate their space just as much as Cindy and I do with the lead generation. So whatever you're going into, your obsession and your focus should be on what's the problem I solve, and now let me become the absolute undisputed best at that one thing. And when you've dominated that and you've got a whole team around you supporting you, it's like, yes, you can add on that next thing. You know, there's product offerings that we could offer and be really good at. We could charge money for our sales training. We could charge money for Facebook ads. There's a lot of funnel building for CRM management. There's a lot of products we could go out and sell that we're incredibly good at. But we don't, because we're obsessed with being the best at the one thing we do, which is outbound appointment setting and ultimately client acquisition. And that's how we've become at our company, Pima, literally like the best in outbound.
Yeah. So I think it's so important. What we've learned on the journey is what you say no to rather is just as important as what you say yes to. So not every client is that perfect client. You don't have to say yes to every single request that comes through to your business, because your time, effort, energy, resources are so important as you're scaling. So keeping in mind that the fact that you're narrowing down, that you're focusing on that one service offering and getting really good at that is benefiting your business, allowing it to scale, because all of your and your team's time, effort, energy, resources are going into that one thing. And that is how you scale. And on that topic too, go narrow to go wide, let's talk about how it relates to marketing channels specifically, because I think this is an area where people stay stuck.
Yeah, so what I see happen a lot, and you know, having been in the outbound space since 2015, what a big cycle that'll happen with people, companies of all sizes really, is that they will have a lead problem, meaning they don't have enough leads, they don't have enough appointments. Maybe they've built, I've known some really big companies, $40, $50 million a year companies that were built entirely on referrals. It was all built in-house, getting referrals from their clients. But there becomes a point in every business, whether you're a small business or whether you're doing $40 million and you've been built on referrals, where you go, hey, we cannot grow beyond what we're doing now. We need to go out and get more clients. How do we do that? Well, you need lead generation and you need sales conversion. These are two processes required to get more clients. And a big mistake that people make is they go out, they find a lead source, it gets them some leads, but then they can't convert them because they think the lead generation process is supposed to, if it's done properly, will help with the conversion process. And it can help a little bit, but the conversion process is a different process that I don't care if you give our sales team cold leads. If it was the right person at the right kind of company, even if they don't have any clue what they're getting on the phone for, our sales team has a good enough process that we could predictably close the coldest of the cold leads so long as it's the right person.
Yeah.
The mistake that people make is they get a lead generation service, they try it, maybe they try two things. Oh, and it doesn't convert because they're not investing enough in the conversion process, the sales process. And so then they hop to another thing and then another thing. And then they're like, well, none of it works. So I'm going to post on, my LinkedIn once a week, and I'm going to create a little content. And they do all these things and they try all these different things and nothing hits because they're not narrowly, obsessively focusing on where are my clients. How do I get their interest? How do I get them to say yes to a call? Once I have them on a call, how do I convert them? And when you obsess about, number one, let me find the channel where my clients are. If I can narrowly focus and obsess on where my people are and become incredibly good at getting meetings there, incredibly good at converting those meetings into clients, that's going to take a lot of work and refining to get it there. The mistake people make is because it doesn't work right off the bat, and they don't get rich quick, which everybody says they don't want to get rich quick scams, but at the same time they buy into them because everybody wants to get rich quick, easily, no work.
Yeah.
When you start jumping from one strategy to another strategy, you're never going to scale. Like you absolutely will never scale. So you've got to go narrow, and you've got to obsess over perfecting your lead generation and conversion process literally on one channel. And then you can add a second channel. Once that's producing and it's replicating and it's growing and it's scaling, then apply it to the closest next channel. For instance, if you're scaling well with LinkedIn, scale that thing to the max. Add as many leads and clients as you can get from it. And then once you've kind of hit the borders, which you're going to hit a border with every channel, then go, what's the closest thing to this? Well, the closest thing is not running ads. Of course, there's a lot of learnings you had from here, interacting with your client that's going to help you create high-performing ads, but the closest thing might be cold email because it's so closely related. And so that's how I think about being like obsessed about going narrow and being the best at that one thing, getting incredibly good at that one thing before going wide.
Yes, and we often get asked the question around what marketing channel or avenue do I even start with, right? And I think where people mess up is they're trying 5 to 10 different marketing channels, trying to see which one works the best. So our recommendation is try one or two. Two, I think, is a good kind of way to start. As long as you know where your ideal client lives, start on those platforms, test about 1 to 2 different strategies, and see which one gives you the best client acquisition cost, which means how much does it cost me to acquire this client, from the lead generation to the sales process. And then that's actually something that you can replicate, because if you're spreading yourself too thin on marketing avenues, like Tim was mentioning, and you have 5 different balls that you're juggling and you're trying to see which one works, nothing is going to get your full attention. Nothing is really going to maximize or perform at the level that it has the potential to perform at. So ultimately you are staying stuck. So in that concept of go narrow to go wide, think of it in your marketing, in your sales, in your service offerings, because that is how you scale.
And also remember, whatever channel you're trying to sell your product on, there's a bunch of other companies that sell similar products to what you sell that are having great success on every one of those channels, right? I mean, from meta ads to cold email to LinkedIn to Instagram DMs to, Billboard, to whatever channel is out there, there's people that are selling similar products to you if it's the right platform, right? They've dialed it in. And so just because you can't get it to work in a short period of time doesn't mean that channel doesn't work. So the question you have to ask yourself is, number one, are my customers there? And if they are, number two, what are the people that are effectively using this channel to get clients? What are they doing that I'm not?
Yeah.
Right? Because there is people that are, if your customers are there, that means your competitors are there too. And there's one of your competitors, multiple of your competitors that are using that channel very successfully. And you got to go figure out what they're doing and copy it. Until you become the leader, like all you're doing is copying other people, right? Even Steve Jobs talked about, he's like, I'm just building on the people that came before me, and there's going to be people that build on me when I leave, right? It's not like too many people try to be like this totally unique creative thing. And if there's something that's already working out there, go use that. And then you create that as your baseline. Like, okay, let me copy that. Well, now I've got a baseline for performance, and now I can internally adjust that and make it better for my specific offer.
So good. So that first secret, ladies and gents, to making your first $1 million in business is go narrow to go wide. And this is arguably one of the most important parts in scaling and in actually having a sustainable business as well. So let's move into the second key, or the second secret, which is get married to Sam.
Oh man, I love Sam. I've been married to Sam.
What is Sam?
I've been married to Sam for a long time. I'm married to Cindy, but I'm also married to Sam. Right? Sales and marketing. Sales
and marketing.
And there's only two, really, if you break down any business, there's only two departments in a business. It's the department that gets clients, and there's the department that keeps clients. Right? That's the only two roles of a business: get clients and keep them. And make them spend more money with you over time, right? Of course. So sales and marketing is that first one, and they're married. Sales and marketing is how you get clients, and you need to be obsessed with sales and marketing. Now, you don't have to become the best marketer on the planet, but you have to be good. You don't have to become the best salesperson on the planet, but you have to be good. You have to understand, if that's 50% of your business, I say it's more, because without clients, you don't have a business, right?
A business,
so the first part of the business is sales and marketing, and you have to become obsessed with it. You have to love it. You have to dream about it on the weekends. How do I do my marketing better? How do I do my sales better? And you don't have to be the best at it. Long term, you don't have to be the best at it, but you do have to be really good at it. And the better you are at it, even as you grow and scale and you start to outsource and you start to have other people do it and you hire other companies to even do the outsource. Like there's companies that hire us all the time. That's what we do. People outsource their appointment setting to us, which is super smart because we can actually do it lower cost per result by outsourcing to us than they can do it in-house. But you have to have a good enough understanding of sales and marketing that when you go hire a company, that you know what you're talking about, because you know what? There's a lot of just companies out there that aren't very good at marketing and sales, but they sell themselves very well and they're very persuasive, but they cannot deliver well. Where if you are good at it, you know how to do it, and you're educated enough on it, even when you go to outsource it, you're not going to be fooled. You're not going to be bamboozled, right? As I like to say, because you're going to understand all the components of sales and marketing. So you have to be obsessed with it. There's absolutely, without the sales and marketing half of your business, like you do not have a business at all.
I think one thing that I learned on the journey to that $1 million, the first $1 million, is that it's my responsibility as the entrepreneur, as the CEO, as the founder, to ensure that the business is getting revenue. Like sales is my responsibility. It was not enough for me to be good at what I did or to be like excellent at, the fulfillment or delivering the service. I had to become excellent and really good at conversion, at that sales piece, at marketing, because ultimately the success and failure of the business is on me. And I think far too often, entrepreneurs, especially in that under $1 million in revenue, they think that just having a good enough service is enough, but it is not. Like you have to become obsessed. Like we say, get married to Sam, get married to sales and marketing. And that looks like going out of your way to learn sales techniques, to learn how to close people on the phone, to learn what does a consistent sales process look like, where I know if I get 10 leads in the door, 10 booked appointments, I'm going to convert 2 or 3 of them. And truly obsessing over that process, because it's not just enough to be excellent at your service. You have to get really, really good at sales and at conversion, because that's ultimately how you scale. You know, there's a saying that says it's not the best written book that sells, right? It's the best sold book.
Yes.
And you literally have to obsess over sales, because the only difference between a 6-figure business and a 7-figure business is the revenue. So it's those that are obsessed with sales and marketing and getting really good at the conversion that see that 7-figure success.
And the more you sell, the more clients you get. The more clients you get, the more you get to refine your product. So guess what? If I go out and I get, I'm a new entrepreneur, and I go watch our trainings. We've got trainings on how to sell, how to do marketing. You can learn it. You get really good at that. If you have, so imagine you have 2 entrepreneurs. One person's they both are equally good at, let's just say, website design. They're both equally good at website design. They're both getting some referrals, but it's not enough to really grow to that $1 million. If one person, they're spending most of their time on becoming a better website designer, and the other person is spending most of their time on becoming a better salesperson. How do we get more clients? Guess what will happen? So a lot of times what people think is that, one person's going to get better at sales and the other person's going to get a better product. And if for me, I want to have the best product. That's a false misconception, because you're doing all this research on how to build better websites. The other person's doing all this research on how to sell. They're selling, they're getting money. Now they have enough money to bring in more staff and more help, and they have a little bit more free time to develop the product more. They also have clients that they're working with, so they're getting paid to learn about the product.
Yes.
They're getting paid. So even though the person 1 is focusing on more on sales and person 2 is focusing more on developing the product, person 1 will create a better product because they have more money, they have more manpower and resources, and they have clients that are giving them feedback and paying to do projects. And so when you obsess on getting clients and taking care of your clients, right, of course, because you want them to stay and you want to fulfill on the promise you made. But when you get obsessed about sales and marketing, like, your product is going to get a heck of a lot better. I mean, there's no way operationally any of our competitors could beat what we have, but it's because we've been obsessed with sales and marketing and operations, right? And so number 1 is to get your $1 million, you got to become absolutely obsessed. If you build a great company, customers will not come. They will not come. You've got to drag them into the business, and you got to convince them to work with you. You're a you're a new person. You might have gone from being an employee and you were really good in your job, and now you're in a business where you're like, okay, I got to do everything now. If there's one thing you should obsess on more than anything else, it is sales and marketing.
So good. And it's a skill that's going to serve you your entire entrepreneurial journey for sure. And I think even on that, a really good book that everybody should read, if you have not yet, is E-Myth. Who's it by? Robert Gerber, I think it is. Gerber. But it's called the E-Myth. We'll link it in the show notes. It's such a good book that talks about Michael Gerber. There it is. Nice.
Sounds like a baby food.
But E-Myth, it is a solid book, and it talks about that, right? Like moving from an employee to a business owner and the multiple 12 different hats that you're juggling. But I think that is a really helpful book on that journey to your first 7 figures.
It was one of the first books I read. I was delivering pizzas in the ghetto, saving up for my first business. And
now look at you.
The Papa John's manager there, he heard I wanted to start a business. He told me to read E-Myth.
It's a good book.
I was like, that was good advice.
That was really good advice.
Book. Yeah, for sure.
So we'll link that in the show notes. That takes us really nicely into the third key, which is invest to unlock your next. This is all about investing in yourself and investing in your business. And I think far too often we see people that think you can save your way to your first $1 million, but it's actually the opposite. So I want you to dive a little bit more into that, Tim, and what that journey has been for us, investing in ourselves, investing in our business, that blew us past that first $1 million.
There's kind of 2 paths I see people take. Now, number 1, read books, no, for sure. That's the best return on investment you can ever make. Like, invest, read books, lots of books. That said, even if you're reading books and you're watching all the YouTube videos and you're doing all of that stuff, you're going to be severely handicapped if you're not paying to be in the right rooms or paying to get the right information. And just, my story as an entrepreneur, I mean, there was years and years and years of just trying to figure it out, getting to 200,000 a year over year, and just hitting these caps. And really where our absolute biggest breakthroughs happened is when we started paying money to get into rooms. Specifically, it was going to a conference and sitting in VIP section, where the people we're sitting next to are running $100 million, $500 million companies, investing into masterminds our first one was like a $40,000 mastermind. And it was like, we didn't even have $40,000 in the bank. We're like, can you split pay it? Right? Mm-hmm. And we ended up getting in the room and making friends with people that are, doing $500 million and just starting to get into the mindset. And when you're around those people, your belief for that goes through the roof. I mean,
yes.
That specific story, our goal was to one day build a $10 million company. And then the moment I walk into the room, I have a guy come up to us and he's like, hey, how much revenue you guys doing? I'm like, 60, 70. Oh, 60, 70 million? What kind of business do you have? And how do you think it was for me, who was doing like $60,000, $70,000 a month, right? How do you think it felt like for me to be like somebody believing that I'm doing 70 million a year? My belief lid went through the roof. This is just one event. And we've gone to events after events and been in mentorship rooms and been around billionaires, millionaires, world leaders. And that alone right there has been the fastest way for us to grow our business. And it's not like this perfect, but if we were to show our bookkeeper, and actually our bookkeeper loves that we're investing in ourselves.
Yeah, she does.
It's not like this line item where I can show a perfect return on investment. But we spent, should I say it out loud, how much we spent in 2023?
Sure.
Okay. We spent $500,000 in 2023 just in getting into the rooms, going to events, getting in front of the right people, being in the masterminds, going to a billionaire's private island, right? And just being in the rooms. And that year was our biggest breakthrough years and our biggest building network. And so I would say, if you think you can't afford it, you can't afford not to do it. You absolutely, because I waited way too long. Number one advice to my younger self would be to pay to get into rooms. It would have saved me 8 years of trying to figure this game out on my own. I could have saved 8 years for sure just by paying to be in the right rooms.
The practical, actionable strategies that you get from coaching, from mentorship, from being in the rooms, but also, as you're mentioning, that mindset shift that can happen in a moment, because when you are communicating and dialoguing and just interacting with people that are at your goals, meaning they're running $1 million businesses. And this was even before we hit the first $1 million. We were investing in ourselves in these ways. When you start to interact with these people, not only in your mind does it unlock the fact that it is possible for you, but you start to realize that these people are no different to me and you, right? Like if they could do it, like so can I. So I think it's both the strategies that you get from investing in yourself, from, paying to be in mentorship and masterminds, as you're mentioning, but what it does to your mindset and the fact that you can believe that it is possible for you and that you can have and reach your goals in that way. It's really, really powerful.
I 100% agree. Like this guy is like literally no different than me, but somehow he's running this crazy company with 1,000 sales reps. And I was out at an event recently, and the guy sitting right in front of me in the row that I made sure to pay to be in, the guy sitting right in front of me, he's like 2,200 sales reps on his team.
Crazy.
Just being in those rooms not only gets you access, but you're starting to learn how really, really successful the person you want to be. Go sit next to them. Go be in the mentorship groups with them. You start to see how they think.
Yes.
You start to see how possible it is. Like you said, Cindy, like, oh, they're no different than me. They're no different, but now they have a higher level of belief, and they have strategies and they're more than willing to share. When you pay to be in if you DM them on Instagram, would you mentor me? Like how many DMs do you get? Like, oh, would you be my mentor? It's like, what have you bought from me? Like, if you're not willing to invest in yourself, why would you be asking me to invest in you? So when you invest to be in these rooms, people also recognize that, oh, this person's paid to be here. You also have to recognize that they're going to see that in you. They're going to see, oh, Cindy's invested to be in this room. So she's the kind of person that I can share ideas with.
So good.
Because there's that barrier of entry, and she's paid that barrier of entry. So yeah, there's nothing that's had a greater impact on our growth, our belief, our mindsets, our network than investing just to be in the room.
So good. And I want to pin something that you said, which is it took you X amount of time, right? To say it's 10 years, however long it was, 8 years.
A long time.
To get to the point where you hit that, say, first million or surpass that first $1 million. But what being in the room allowed you to do is actually accelerate that.
Yes.
Right. So this is like, we hope that you will take this as a lesson learned, where it's, you can accelerate your learning, or you can accelerate the growth of your business simply by paying to play, by investing in courses, mentorship, and all these amazing things that can really transform your business. You don't necessarily have to like learn from your failures, because that can take you a long time. If you want to shorten that period and actually accelerate it, invest in mentors, get coaching, invest in yourself and your business. It is by far one of the most important things you can do to scale and to get there quick.
Yeah. And by the way, I actually got to the million before 8 years, but guess what? The business crashed.
Which is the bonus tip that we want to give as well, right? Is it related to
it
that?
It is. But if I had paid to be in the rooms, number one, I would have gotten there faster. I probably would have gotten there in like 2 or 3 years instead of, it took me like 7 or something like that. But I also wouldn't have crashed a business, because I would have had the right people around me.
Yes.
Showing me, hey, warning, Will Robinson, there's some danger ahead. You like pay attention. But I didn't know these problems were, and now knowing, if somebody would have seen my business, like, oh, you got to fix these 2 things, otherwise you're going to crash. But if you fix these 2 things, you'd be fine. And so that's another thing, just paying to be in the right room, not only gotten me there faster, it would have made me not have to crash and then rebuild from the ground up.
So let's share that bonus tip, which is once somebody gets to that first million, maybe they've been cruising here for about a year and they're like, we're in a really, really good spot. What advice can we give them kind of on the other side to make sure that they're actually able to sustain that million and then surpass it?
Couple things, but I'm going to tell a story. So there's a client we had some years ago, and he, I'm talking to him on the phone, and I'm like, hey, how's business going? Great, man. We just hit $70,000 this month. I think we're about to be at the 85K, which if you're at 85,000 a month, you're $1 million a year business. I'm like, awesome. He's like, we're hiring more people. Wait, hold on. You're hiring more people? How many people do you have? Oh, we've got 5. I'm like, oh, is this 5 in the U.S., or are you doing like some offshore and you have Philippines, Colombia? No, they're all U.S. Our clients love that all of our employees, yes. And you're hiring more? Yeah. We're gonna hire 3 more people. And I said, wait, you're gonna have 8 people plus you and your co-founder, so you're gonna have 10 people, and you're only doing about to be at 80K a month? Yeah. I'm like, dude, your business is about to crash. Well, what do you mean? Well, I'm like, if you need to have a goal of employees per million, you should have, especially like a digital marketing agency, should be like 3-4 employees per $1 million in revenue, including yourself and any co-founders. Now, there is going to be points where you are staffing up for your next level of growth. So say you're reaching $1 million and you go, we're growing really fast. And we have predictable client acquisition systems, and we are predicting, like, at our growth rate, we're going to be at 2 million by this time next year. You can pre-staff knowing that you're going to be losing profit for a little while to make sure that you can handle the clients that are about to come. Don't do that too much. But the biggest thing is you need to obsessively focus on your employees per $1 million in revenue, because I had 13 US employees doing 85K a month. And I was like, why is my profit getting less and less? I'm not paying the employees like that much. Like, they're getting paid okay, but not that much. And that's what made my business crash, because I had 13 employees here in Miami, an office. They all had their own computers, everything. And we're doing like $1 million a year. And I just was overstaffed. And when you're obsessed on like, how do I make it, 3, 4, maybe 5 max per million if you're digital. Obviously if you have like a local service-based business and you have, minimum wage employees, it's going to be a little different. For our world, it's like 3 or 4 per million is really healthy. What that forces you to do it. It forces you to look at a lot of areas of your business.
Yeah.
How do I do that? Well, what am I charging enough? Am I cutting costs in all the different areas? Like there's going to be a lot of different things that it forces you to look at. But if you just obsess on how do I get to 3 or 4 employees per million, then you're going to be healthy. If you start to get bloated, excessively bloated, your business is going to crash, or you're just going to, there was oh man, I don't want to say who his name is, so I won't, but there's a guy, he's running a really externally successful branding agency. It does like $6 or $7 million a year. And he's like, Tim, I'm not making any money. I literally, some months, I'm getting a loan just to pay my employees. So externally, you see this 6, 7, whatever $million a year, or somewhere around that. Don't exactly quote me, but he's not making money on it because he was overstaffed. He was over hiring. And so it doesn't matter how much you're doing externally if you're not taking home.
Yes. So that's the difference between that revenue top line. Oh, I'm doing 7 figures, but what's your take home? What is that profitability? And shifting that focus to what is our revenue per or employee per million is putting you in a mindset of profitability, because the ultimate goal of being an entrepreneur, of running a business, is to be profitable. It's to take home profit. So we want you all to be mindful of that as you are scaling to that million and beyond, is to obsess over profitability as well, because that is how you sustain a business. And that's what makes it honestly worth the journey. Is you put all this sweat equity into building a business, but if you're not taking anything home, it starts to become draining.
Yeah, and they're entrepreneurs are the ones doing all the work, taking all the risk, putting all of their own money into it. The goal of your business is to reward you,
the risk taker. Yes.
Now, the ways in which you can operate a business that effectively does that is to create great opportunities for your employees, create great culture so that they produce well, do a great job for your clients so they keep paying you. But the goal of a business is not to give employees jobs. Your goal of a business is not to fulfill for your clients. The goal of your business is to make you profit and to reward you, the risk taker. And again, the ways in which you do that is with great customer service, great employee opportunities, great culture, et cetera, et cetera. But those are tools to achieve a goal. So make sure your mindset is framed on this business is designed to make me money and profit. And one of the most critical numbers that I can look at is how many employees per $1 million in revenue. And there's been multiple businesses that I've saved from crashing their businesses because they were on that trajectory that I was on. That again, if I would have paid to be in the room 10 years ago, I would have avoided. But I was able to help them avoid their businesses crashing because of overstaffing.
Wow, this was such a good conversation. Well, ladies and gents, we hope that you enjoyed this and that you learned something, whether you are on the journey to getting to your first million or you are already at that mark. And hopefully that employees per million helped save you some trouble. We really hope that it did. Make sure that you tap into all the resources that we have right below this video. And if you are tuned in on audio, click the link in the show notes to subscribe to our podcast. This was awesome.
And remember, domination is not a destination. It is a way of life. Stay winning.